let's say that what? Let's say that you have a business. And your business has certain assets. And these assets have certain value, right? Let's say you have 4 assets, and each asset is worth, I don't know, $10,000, right? So what is the total value of the assets in your business? $40,000, right? Okay. You have asset A, asset B, asset C, and asset D, and fair market value is 10, 10, 10, 10. Total 40, okay? Let's say you decide to sell this business. You don't need to see anything on the board. I just said each asset 10,000. That's it. Asset A, B, C, and D. Total 40. That's it. Simple. Now, let's say somebody comes to buy your business. And let's say they offer 60,000 or million or billion. Okay? Difference 20. What is this 20? What? Well, I don't know if it's gain. First of all, how do we calculate gain, guys? Come on. It's what you get minus fair market value of your assets? No, it's minus your basis. We don't know what basis is in these assets. Why would they pay you extra 20,000 or 20 million over the value of your assets? It's probably some intangible asset, right? Like, could be goodwill, right? You got it? Okay. So if this is goodwill, the person who gets paid goodwill, how does this person get taxed? What kind of income would that be for goodwill? Presuming the person developed goodwill on his or her own, so it's all profit, it's all gain. It's treated as capital gain. Okay? And it will get taxed as capital gain, and with the rate, whatever the rate is. Could be 15%, could be 0, could be maximum rate is what? Maximum 20 could be, right? Now, let's say it's a pizzeria and somebody sells the pizza store, right? After the sale, the owner crosses the street and opens the same pizza store across the street, and all the customers go to a new place. Right? What can you possibly do to prevent the situation? You make the seller sign a document that says he or she promises not to compete. Right? It's called covenant not to compete. Okay? So this could also be, instead of goodwill, it could be covenant not to compete maybe, because if you promise, if you made a deal that the seller is not going to compete within 10 miles or 20 miles or whatever it is, then it's good news, right? Now, if you get paid $20,000 for covenant not to compete, CNC, what kind of income is that? Is this capital gain or ordinary income? Answer. If you get paid for work, to work, is this ordinary income? Yeah. If you get paid, like, here's $20, sing me a song. Like last night, what a horrible experience. We had a rough day, both me and my wife, and at night we decided to go out. And we went out and wanted to relax, so we went to this jazz place we sometimes go to. And you always relax. I always hated jazz all my life. Then I think I matured to it, from blues to jazz. And it's always wonderful. Last night we sat down. We're wondering how come first row was available. We just couldn't get it. So we sat down in this place, and these guys started playing. Oh my! You know how sometimes you drive in the car, you listen to the radio, and you get into bad reception, and it's like you get these noises like, just kill your ears, right? That was the type of music. Like, I don't know. I guess I haven't matured to that level yet. So my wife wanted to leave immediately. I said, it's not nice. They're playing, and we're right in front of musicians. So, and I said, they should finish fast, presumably. The piece was like 20 minutes. So she couldn't take it anymore. She goes, I'm leaving. And we were like right in front. It's a small place. Everybody's looking at us. I'm already starting to laugh hysterically because it was really impossible to listen. Like I couldn't, plus we're so close. It's like into our ears and all these weird sounds they were making. Like I don't know, I don't even know what style it is. Anybody knows? Nuts. So at some point she goes, I cannot take it anymore. I'm getting a headache. So she got up and she left. She took her stuff. And of course, 60 seconds later, I don't know if that was a hint to these guys, they ended the piece. So I could get up in the good. I said, this was fantastic. And I just left. So anyway, how did I get to this conversation? Oh, so if you get somebody $20 to play and they play for you, is that income to them? Yes. If last night I said, here's $50, but stop playing, is this taxable income for them? Yes, same ordinary income, right? So covenant not to, there was a rationale to my story. So covenant not to compete, it's ordinary income, whether you work or you don't work. So for the person who's a seller, does the person care whether they sell goodwill or covenant not to compete? If I sell goodwill, what kind of rate am I paying maximum? 20% capital gain. If I sell covenant not to compete, what type of rate am I paying? Could be as high as 40, about, right? So I care. The person who buys these assets, do they care? How do we treat these assets for tax purposes? Could you write them off immediately as expense? No. You amortize. Over what period? Anybody? I hear 180 months, which is also known as? How many years in 180 months? 15 years. Anybody other amount? But what if this covenant not compete is only for 2 years? And what about impaired value? Don't you guys wonder about that? I hope you don't, because that's all accounting. We don't care about that. Answer, 15 years. Always 15 years, no matter what, no matter how. So the buyer doesn't care. You as a seller care. Okay? Buyer doesn't care. You as a seller care. So that creates opportunity for negotiation. Okay? You could negotiate different pricing. Hey, I'll give you better price if, maybe we could allocate, to covenant compete this amount, for goodwill this amount, and you could negotiate, which is usually what happens in mergers and acquisitions transactions. I want to tell you something crazy valuable when it comes to covenant compete that's going to impact each and every one of you. Priceless. But meanwhile, I don't see my assistants. I'm getting nervous. So let me email to her very quickly. Oh, she is? Oh, there you are. Hi, how you doing? I was going to email to you. Were you emailing to me? Okay. I guess the gentleman's not here, right? All right, so we'll wait another minute and then we'll start. But meanwhile, let me tell you a few priceless stuff about covenant and compete at no additional charge. Any one of you, well, probably not yet, most likely, but you're going to get jobs in some companies. And they're going to have you sign covenant not to compete, which says you promise not to take our clients, you promise not to compete this, there. It happens all the time. Okay? So if somebody comes to you and says, if you'd like to work with us, or if you'd like to continue to working with us, we'd like you to sign a document. in order, and let's say sign it for a year, right? So a year after you quit, you don't compete, work for other companies, similar company, you start your own company. Anytime they give it to you, you need to remember something. For covenant not to compete, for this contract to be enforceable, meaning what? I really suggest you pay attention. Very valuable stuff, guys. This is for you. It has nothing to do with taxes, but priceless stuff. In order for it to be enforceable, meaning for them to force you to do it, it has to be reasonable. And courts said for covenant not to compete to be reasonable, it has to be reasonable with respect to time period and also geographic location. And the time period historically been interpreted as about 2 years. You can't say, okay, don't compete with it, don't work in the city or whatever for next 10 years. It's unreasonable. So courts usually say about 2 years. And geographic location must be reasonable. You know, if I'm selling pizza, I cannot say, listen, don't sell pizza anywhere in New York State, right? Court said it would be unreasonable, and nobody's it's going to be as good as a piece of garbage. So if somebody comes to you and says, you know, if you want to work with us, or if you want to continue working with us, we want you to sign this covenant to compete for a year, year and a half, 2 years, that you're not going to compete in whatever, in this area. What should you do? You say, no problem. In fact, if you're so concerned that I would compete with you, let's just change the terms. Instead of year, let's make it 5 years. I don't mind. Instead of New York, let's make it the whole country. I don't mind. Why is that? Because the moment you're going to do that, it becomes garbage. That's enough for today.